Chapter 1: The Dying World of Zanga. The twin suns of Zarga hung low in the ashen sky, casting long shadows across the barren landscape of Zanga. Jagged rock formations jutted from the ground like broken teeth, a testament to the planet's ongoing struggle for survival. In the distance, a lone figure stood atop a rocky outcropping, silhouetted against the dying light. Arya, the young protagonist, surveyed the desolate terrain with eyes that held both determination and a hint of sadness. At 20 summers old, she had known nothing but hardship. Zanga was a world of scarcity, where every drop of water and every morsel of food was a precious commodity fought for with unwavering resolve. The settlement below was a collection of worn metal structures and makeshift shelters, a stark reminder of the planet's dwindling resources. People moved with purpose, their movements calculated and efficient. Children worked alongside adults, gathering what little they could from the unforgiving land. Queen Petra watched her daughter from the entrance of their modest dwelling. Her once regal appearance had been weathered by years of struggle, but her eyes remained sharp and intelligent. She knew Arya was destined for something greater than the limited existence their people currently endured. "The elders have been talking," Queen Petra said, approaching her daughter. Her voice was soft but carried the weight of leadership. "They speak of an ancient prophecy." Arya turned, her wind-worn face a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. "Prophecies won't fill our water reserves or grow crops in this dead soil." A slight smile crossed the queen's lips. "Perhaps, but hope is sometimes the most powerful resource a people can have." The prophecy spoke of a young hero who would emerge when Zanga faced its darkest hour. It told of a child born under the convergence of the twin suns, marked by a unique birthmark shaped like the planet's most ancient symbol. Those who remembered the old stories whispered that this hero would find a way to restore Zanga's life force. As if on cue, the wind picked up, carrying with it the dust of 1,000 forgotten dreams. The settlement's warning bells began to ring, a sound that had become all too familiar. Scouts were reporting movement at the planet's eastern border, where rumors of Emperor Romulus's advancing forces had been growing more persistent. Hannibal, Arya's closest friend and a skilled warrior, approached the rocky outcropping. His armor was patched and worn, but his eyes burned with an intensity that spoke of unwavering commitment. "The council wants to meet," he said. "Romulus's scouts have been spotted less than a day's journey from our borders." The implications were clear. Zanga was not just fighting environmental collapse. They were facing a potential invasion by an emperor known for stripping planets of their resources and leaving nothing but desolation in his wake. Queen Petra's hand instinctively found the ancient medallion she always wore, a relic passed down through generations, its intricate markings hinting at a history far more complex than their current struggles suggested. "We must prepare," she said, her voice steady. "Arya, your role in our people's future is becoming clearer with each passing moment." But Arya wasn't listening. Her attention was drawn to a strange formation in the distant horizon, a shimmer in the air that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Something was coming, something that would change everything. As darkness fell over Zanga, the whispers of the prophecy seemed to grow louder. The planet held its breath, suspended between hope and inevitable transformation. Arya stood resolute, her silhouette a promise of resistance against the darkness that threatened to consume her world. Little did she know that the giant robot, a harbinger of both destruction and potential salvation, was already on its way, carrying with it the fate of an entire planet. Chapter 2: The Arrival of the Giant Robot. The sky above Zanga transformed from its usual muted ochre to a blazing crimson as the massive metallic construct descended. Arya watched in stunned silence as the giant robot pierced through the atmospheric layers, its titanium-like surface reflecting the twin suns of Zarga in a blinding display of technological might. A low, resonant hum filled the air, vibrating through the ground and causing the sparse vegetation to tremble. The people of the settlement froze, their daily struggles momentarily forgotten in the face of this unprecedented arrival. Arya could feel her heart racing, a strange connection pulsing through her veins, an inexplicable sensation that suggested this moment was more than mere coincidence. Queen Petra stood beside her daughter, her weathered hands clenched into tight fists. "It begins," she whispered, her voice carrying a mix of dread and anticipation. Before anyone could react, a massive holographic projection erupted from the robot's central core. The image of Emperor Romulus materialized, a figure of imposing stature, with cybernetic augmentations that blended seamlessly with his organic form. His eyes, cold and calculating, swept across the landscape of Zanga like a predator sizing up its prey. "People of Zanga," Romulus's voice boomed, each word dripping with calculated menace, "your planet's resources are now under my protection. Resistance is futile. Surrender, and you may yet survive the transformation." Hannibal, who had been standing nearby, moved closer to Arya. His hand instinctively reached for the energy blade at his side. "Protection?" he muttered. "More like conquest." Arya felt something stirring within her, a connection to the robot that defied explanation. Vivid fragments of dreams began to flood her mind. Strange symbols, ancient landscapes, and a sense of profound purpose swirled in her consciousness. She saw glimpses of the relic stones, their power pulsing like a heartbeat, calling to her. "Mother," Arya whispered, her eyes never leaving the robotic construct. "Something feels different. I can sense something." Queen Petra's expression was a mixture of concern and recognition. The ancient prophecy spoke of a connection, a chosen one who would emerge when Zanga faced its greatest threat. Could her daughter be that person? Romulus's hologram continued, detailing the technological superiority of his forces and the inevitability of their conquest. But beneath his confident proclamation, Arya detected something else. A hint of desperation, a subtle urgency that suggested the stakes were higher than a simple planetary invasion. Hannibal leaned in close to Arya. "We can't just stand here and watch," he said, his voice low and intense. "The elders are gathering. They want to form a resistance, and they're requesting your presence." The robot began to deploy smaller reconnaissance units, mechanical spider-like machines that skittered across Zanga's rocky terrain. Each movement was precise, calculated, a testament to Romulus's technological superiority. Arya turned to her mother, a newfound determination burning in her eyes. "We need to act. These relic stones, they're more than just a legend, aren't they?" Queen Petra nodded slowly. "They are the key to our survival, and to stopping Romulus." As if in response to her words, a distant shimmer emanated from the horizon, a subtle pulse of energy that seemed to resonate with the relic stone's ancient power. Arya felt a surge of anticipation. Their journey was about to begin. "Gather the most skilled warriors," she told Hannibal. "We're going to need every advantage we can get." The giant robot continued its ominous descent, casting a massive shadow over Zanga. But within that shadow, a spark of resistance was forming, led by a young woman who was only just beginning to understand her true destiny. The battle for Zanga's survival had begun. Chapter 3. The Quest to Stop Romulus. The twin sons of Zanga cast long shadows across the jagged landscape as Arya and her companions picked their way through the treacherous terrain. Since leaving the settlement, their journey had been fraught with danger. Hannibal walked beside her, his keen eyes scanning the horizon, one hand never far from his weapon. "The ancient ruins can't be much further," Hannibal whispered, his voice low and cautious. The group had grown since leaving their home, now including 3 warriors from the eastern plains and 2 scouts who had joined their cause after witnessing Romulus's devastation. Arya felt a strange pulse emanating from the relic stones hidden within her travel pack. They seemed to respond to her emotions, growing warmer when her determination peaked and cooler during moments of doubt. She remembered her mother's words. "The stones choose their bearer, not the other way around." Suddenly, a piercing screech cut through the air. Reconnaissance drones from Romulus's forces swept overhead, their metallic bodies glinting against the harsh sky. "Take cover," Hannibal shouted, pushing Arya behind a massive rock formation. The warriors moved with practiced precision. 2 archers, Mira and Kale, prepared their energy weapons, while the others created a defensive perimeter. Arya's hand instinctively touched the stones in her pack. They vibrated with an energy that seemed to resonate with her own heartbeat. "They're tracking us," one of the scouts, a lean woman named Zara, reported. "Romulus knows we're heading to the ruins. He won't let us get close without a fight." As if on cue, the ground trembled. Mechanical units began emerging from hidden tunnels, robotic soldiers with precision-engineered weapons. Their synchronized movements spoke of a cold, calculated intelligence. "We're outnumbered," Hannibal muttered, but there was no fear in his voice, only strategic assessment. Arya stepped forward, the relic stones now glowing softly through her pack. She had discovered something during their journey, a connection to these ancient artifacts that went beyond mere possession. They responded to her will, to her intent. "Everyone, form a defensive circle," she commanded. Her voice carried an authority that surprised even herself. The warriors immediately responded, creating a tight formation that would maximize their defensive capabilities. The first wave of robotic soldiers attacked. Energy pulses erupted from their weapons, creating brilliant arcs of destructive light. But Arya's companions were prepared. Mira and Kale's precision shots disabled several units, while the ground warriors used specialized electromagnetic disruptors to create localized interference. During a momentary lull, Zara approached Arya. "The ruins are just beyond that ridge," she pointed. "But Romulus will have anticipated our route. We'll need a strategy that's unpredictable." As they spoke, Arya felt the relic stones pulse more intensely. An image flashed in her mind, a hidden pathway, obscured by natural rock formations, that would provide a safer approach to the ruins. "This way," she said, her voice calm but firm. The group followed without hesitation, their trust in her growing with each challenge they overcame. Little did they know, Emperor Romulus was watching. From his command ship high above Zanga, holographic displays tracked their every move. His cold eyes narrowed. "The prophecy child thinks she can outmaneuver me," he muttered to himself. "We shall see." As darkness began to fall, Arya and her companions continued their dangerous journey. The ruins and the final confrontation with Romulus were drawing closer. The fate of Zanga hung in the balance, balanced on the edge of a knife. The relic stones continued to pulse, a heartbeat of promise and potential, waiting to reveal their true power. Chapter 4: The Final Battle. The ancient ruins loomed before Arya, a labyrinthine complex of stone and forgotten technology that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Her companions stood behind her. Hannibal, battle-worn but unbroken, and the remaining warriors who had survived their treacherous journey. The relic stones in her pack vibrated with an intensity that matched her racing heartbeat, responding to the imminent confrontation. Emperor Romulus's massive robot dominated the horizon, its metallic frame casting an ominous shadow across the landscape of Zanga. Reconnaissance drones buzzed overhead like angry insects, scanning the terrain for any weakness in their defenses. Arya knew this was the moment that would define not just her fate, but the future of her entire planet. "We've come too far to fail now," Hannibal whispered, checking the energy core of his primary weapon. His eyes met Arya's, a mixture of determination and unspoken fear passing between them. The ruins around them seemed to breathe with ancient secrets. Intricate stone pathways wound through massive carved pillars, each surface etched with symbols that predated even the oldest memories of Zanga's civilization. Arya traced her fingers along one of the walls, feeling a sudden connection, a whisper of knowledge that seemed to flow directly into her consciousness. "The stones," she muttered, pulling the relic stones from her pack. They glowed with an inner light, responding to her touch, to her very intention. The prophecy her mother had spoken of seemed to crystallize in this moment. She was more than just a potential savior. She was a conduit. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Romulus's voice boomed across the landscape, a technological projection that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. "Your resistance ends here, children of Zanga." The Emperor's voice thundered. "Surrender the stones, and I might consider sparing your pitiful planet." Arya stood tall, the relic stones floating around her, defying gravity. "We will never surrender," she called back, her voice carrying a strength that surprised even herself. The first wave of robotic soldiers emerged from hidden compartments in the ruins, their metallic bodies gleaming in the harsh light of Zarga's twin suns. Hannibal and the warriors formed a defensive formation, their weapons charged and ready. The battle erupted with a fury that shook the very foundations of the ancient complex. Energy blasts crisscrossed the air, stone exploded into fragments, and the sound of mechanical destruction mixed with human battle cries. Arya moved through the chaos, the relic stones creating a protective barrier around her and her companions. Emperor Romulus's giant robot descended, its massive form blocking out the sky. Mechanical tentacles erupted from its sides, seeking to crush Arya and her team. But the relic stones responded to her will, creating shields, redirecting energy, becoming both weapon and defense. In a moment of pure synchronicity, Arya understood the true power of the stones. They were more than artifacts. They were living memories of Zanga's most ancient power. As she concentrated, images flooded her mind. The planet's history, its struggles, its potential for renewal. Now, she shouted to Hannibal and the warriors. The final assault began. The relic stones unleashed a wave of energy that tore through Romulus's defenses. The giant robot shuddered, its technological might crushed by the combined power of Zanga's last hope and its most ancient magic. Emperor Romulus's holographic projection flickered, then died. The robot began to collapse, its massive form crumbling like a fallen titan. As dust settled and silence descended, Arya looked around. Her companions were battered but alive. The ruins, which had witnessed countless battles, stood as silent testimony to their victory. Hannibal approached her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We did it," he said simply. Arya looked to the horizon, where the first signs of healing were already beginning to show on Zanga's landscape. The relic stones had done more than defeat an enemy. They had awakened the planet's dormant regenerative power. "This is just the beginning," she responded, knowing that their true challenge lay in rebuilding, in healing, in creating a future worth fighting for. The twin suns of Zanga began to set, casting a golden light over a world that had been reborn through hope, unity, and an unbreakable spirit of resistance.